Okay, well, I guess we'll kick it off. Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here tonight, and I'd like to thank Cindy and Judy for asking me to do this. And like I was telling Mike before, I may have, if I run into problems with my laptop, I may have to drop out for a little bit and then get back in on my phone. I've been having some problems with my laptop, so hopefully that doesn't happen. But anyway, my name is Bob Wendling, and I became interested in meditation about 30 years ago as part of my recovery. And, it's uh, for those who are in a 12-step program, that's part of what we're supposed to be doing. And that's how I got interested in that. And if you're not, the kind of meditation that I ultimately ended up trying to incorporate into my life is a lot older than any 12-step program. It's about 26 centuries old. And it's transcended cultures, different times, and it's still a very valuable tool in the business of living, at least for me. So I was fortunate that when I got interested in a spiritual path and seeking out a meditation practice, that the man that actually trained me to do my job had been living that way his whole life. Um, Not a part of any program or anything like that. He's just one of those people who lives a spiritual life without having to be pushed into it. And he never. I had known him for 7 years before, or longer, before I actually got interested, and he never tried to uh, convince me or proselytize me or do anything to try to try to push me into anything that he was doing, which I thought was attractive because in our culture, I've just been surrounded by a lot of people who wanted to kind of voice their beliefs on me, and I was kind of repulsed by that. So anyway, he's from Thailand, and he's originally, and I asked him about meditation, and he said, all my books are in Thai. Why don't we meet at a Barnes and Noble on Sunday, and I'll see if we can find something that will help you. And I think that was about 1991, two, I can't remember honestly. It was somewhere around then. And he found a book uh, that he thought would help me, and it just kind of set me off on a little spiritual adventure, and along that fit in nicely with the one that I already found myself on. And it just it seems so different than anything else I had been exposed to growing up. I was raised as a in the Catholic Church, which I don't have any resentment towards. Um, but it just didn't seem like it was working for me. So, and I wasn't aware of any kind of meditation practice in organized Christianity at that point in my life. And what I was starting to learn about was a faith where meditation was central to that tradition, and that's Theravada Buddhism. That's the Indian Buddhism. It's called Theravada. That literally means the teaching of the elders, and so that's what I started getting kind of into. At that time, you could buy tapes, cassette tapes, because there weren't CDs yet or any of that stuff, and reading lots of books and all this stuff. And that kind of went on for uh, a few years, and then we worked together. The man that I was telling you about, I had been his apprentice a long time before that, and so uh, it was really cool to have a living, breathing example of this. Not somebody that was talking to me once a week about how I should live the other 6 days of the week, but I got to see him in stressful situations, and I actually got to see how he conducted himself based on what he had learned and what he was trying to share with me. So uh, what I saw in him were qualities that I wanted for myself, which was qualities which were um, balance, emotional balance, kindness, and just a great heart. And I miss him today. He retired, I don't know, maybe about 5 years ago or so. And I see him once in a while. But I think many of us are fortunate to have people cross our paths that are able to influence our lives for the better. He's certainly one of those people for me. Um, so the the upshot of all of that is that I have over these 3 decades uh, gone to not had a whole lot of formal training in it. So the last thing I am for you guys is really I never think of myself as an instructor. I've been asked to share um, at different times for different in different groups, uh, just to do like a short meditation. And if I told you I practiced this perfectly, that would be a lie. But what I can tell you is that during some of the darkest and most difficult times in my life, um, it's helped me to find some balance and some peace. And that's really all I've been looking for. So uh, this is really called, it's mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness of the breath really is what we're talking about. And I think the reason that the Buddha picked the breath was because it's right here. It's with us all the time. Um, we've had it since the day we were born, and we'll have the breath with us until the day we die. So it's always there. We don't often think about it too much in our normal everyday living. Uh, mindfulness the kind of mindfulness that we develop um, in this practice would be useless if it just sat on a cushion or in a chair for 15 minutes a day or 20 minutes a day or 5 or however long you sit in meditation. If it doesn't go out with us into traffic and with the people in our home, the people that we work with, doesn't go with us wherever we go, then it's kind of pointless. That's another area where I know that sometimes I'm spot on with it, and a lot of times I feel like that the day's gone by and I blew it in every area of my life. But one thing I can tell you is that if I sat down that day, and I'm a morning person, so I meditate in the morning. Some people are night people. That's how you got to figure that out for yourselves. What works best for you. But I know that if I've done it, at least I've made an effort for that day to try to do right by myself. And so I've had uh, people come up to me and ask me, I just had this crazy thought. I can't believe I've had this thought. I've been trying to get better for such a long time, and it just popped into my head. And I would say, when the conditions are there for a particular thought to arise, it's going to happen. You know, what we have in our minds. One teacher said they're thinking. We have a thinking machine, and there's no off switch. Uh, there's no off switch. I tried to put an off switch on it for a long time until I had to find a way to live. And so, a lot of people I've talked to over the years have given up on trying to quiet down or learn how to meditate because they'll try and then come back and say, I can't quiet my mind. It's all over the place. I'm thinking about work. I'm thinking about money. Got problems in my marriage. I'm thinking about my kid. This term that I learned when I started my recovery, hairhead, they called it. And there's like 1,000 flights coming and going, but there's no one in the tower directing the traffic. And The reason that those people are giving up is actually the beginning of understanding. You know, when you sit down, if you're, I think we've all been pretty busy people in our lives. It's just how our culture is. We've been so busy and so distracted, you don't even know how undisciplined it is up here. And this is the reason for trying to make the breath an object of the meditation. Because when you're sitting and you're meditating and you're trying to focus on the breath, and then you start thinking about any of those other things that I was talking about, any a combination of them or whatever it is that's going on in your life that just pops in by itself, it seems like bubbles coming up out of a pond. Um, you have something to come back to always. And it's always here, the breath. And that's why it's actually such a good object of meditation. Uh, so when I started doing this, we didn't have smartphones or cell phones even really. I think they were out, but they were pretty basic. And I needed a way to set a time, a specific period of time. So, I mean, now there are just all kinds of apps for your smartphones where you can download meditation timers and such. But back then, all I had was the timer on the microwave in my kitchen, and I would set that because what I found is that if I think that I'm going to sit down for 5 minutes or 10 or 15 minutes or a half an hour, and there's no way I'm going to be able to accurately gauge how much time has elapsed, and I don't want to just like look at a watch. So it's important to have something like that so you're not distracted by, is it time yet? Is it time yet? So do that for yourself if you're going to, or unless you've already done that. I'm guessing you guys are interested in this and that's why you're here. So maybe you already have something like that, a timer for your meditation. Uh, like I said before, uh, there's morning people and night people. Uh, I like it in the morning. I like it when it's calm and quiet and dark, and that's the time that works best for me. So, plus, I feel like I'm doing something good for myself before I have to go to work. You know, Other people enjoy winding down at the end of the day when they can kind of take a look back at their day and just try to get ready um, for the rest of their evening to go to sleep later. Whatever works best for you is what's best for you, as far as that goes. Um, with there's a story that I read a long time ago that explains why the breath is a good object of meditation. And so in India, way back when they would use elephants for as work animals, and they would go and capture wild elephants, which is pretty dangerous. Sounds crazy to me, but they capture these animals and they drive a wooden pole into the ground, and then tie the wild elephant, to the pole. And uh, as you can imagine, the animal is pissed and pushing and trying to uproot this thing, and it would fight against being tethered to this for days, and then finally would just give up and just start to relax. And at that point, they could start training the elephant. So the elephant is analogous to your mind, that wild, crazy, stomping around, can't be controlled, unhappy, pissed off state. And that post in the ground is mindfulness. And that's what we're going to be looking at tonight, is the mindfulness of the breath. There's a whole sutra on this in one of the collections of discourses that the Buddha gave, but that's really not too important for this right here. The thing that's important is that there's a way to come back to being here in the present moment. And that's really what this is important. That's why this is important, is because we can let our whole lives slip by and miss it all. because we're so distracted by other things all the time. So uh, if you're comfortable, uh, just sit up straight. You know, if you're in a chair, best thing to do, is to have a chair with a nice straight back. If you're sitting in a chair, I myself could never sit in a full lotus position, so I don't do that. I don't try to pretend I'm something I'm not. But I'm sitting on a little bench right now, and that's worked really good for me for a long time. Uh, the important thing is to try to keep your back straight because this is not a, it's not so much a relaxation technique as it is a way to get in touch with the present moment. Sometimes that's comfortable, sometimes that's not. So uh, try to sit up straight, close your eyes, and we're going to start the meditation off with a little kind of a pre-meditation. It's called metta, and what that means is it's a word for goodwill or loving kindness. The reason for doing this first is because it's really hard to sit on your cushion and try to relax and get into it when all you're thinking about is people that have harmed you and all the issues you have with others. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, great. So think to yourself, may I be truly happy? May I learn to create the causes for true happiness? May I be released from suffering? Then, as I wish to be truly happy, so may those that are dear to me be truly happy. As I wish to be truly happy, so may all those who are friends, may they be truly happy. As I wish to be truly happy, so may all those who I feel neutral towards, who I neither like nor dislike, may they be truly happy. As I wish to be truly happy, so may all those whom I dislike, disagree with, or even hate, may they all be truly happy. May all beings, without exception, be released from suffering. So take a couple of deep, nice, long, deep in and out breaths. Let your diaphragm go down, let your belly come out. Just take some nice, deep, long breaths. Find a rhythm of breathing that feels comfortable for you. Feel any tension, stress in your abdomen while you're breathing into it. Just let the stress, tension dissolve as you continue to breathe deeply. Try to be aware of the movement of your abdomen, lower abdomen as you breathe in and breathe out. Paying attention to the breath. You don't have anywhere else to be or anything else to do right now. Feel any tension, let it dissolve. And bring your awareness up a little bit higher towards your stomach. Your stomach is the, I don't know if you can see, it's actually right beneath your rib cage on the left side a little bit. So your stomach is actually not way down in your abdomen. It's a little bit higher, your solar plexus. Try to bring your attention there as you breathe. Again, try to notice, try to sense if you have any tension, stress in that area. Continue breathing in a way that's comfortable to you. And let it dissolve. With the breath coming in and soothing your body. Try to bring your attention to your heart center. And special attention to the area around your heart. Think of yourself breathing into it. Like if you could breathe, pull the air right in through your heart in that area. Again, try to pay attention, sense if there's any tension or stress there. Try to sense if the breathing, if your breathing is still comfortable. If it's not, you can always change it. Deeper and more shallow. And let it find its own way. Don't have to struggle with the breath. Just try to be aware of it. Now try to bring your attention to the base of your throat. Same thing. See if you can become aware. See if there's any tension or stress there. Try to notice again if your breathing is comfortable. This is a good place to actually feel the breath physically coming into the body. If you can pay attention to your throat. In and out. Next, try to bring your awareness to the center of your head. Don't just think of the breath coming in through your nostrils, but through your eyes and your ears and the top of your head, back of your head, pulling in the breath to soothe your whole body, your whole being. Then try to sense if there's any tension in your head and let it dissolve as you pay attention and focus on the in and the out breath. Try to bring your attention to your back and your whole nervous system. Try to think of the breath getting pulled in through every nerve in your body as you breathe in and breathe out. Again, looking for areas of stress or tension. Just breathe into those places and let the breath dissolve them. Be aware of your body in the space and what's going on with your breathing as you're doing it. what you can do now is try to find a spot, since we've kind of gone through the body, is try to find a spot where you feel, maybe you felt really comfortable with the breath, as we were going, starting with the abdomen and going to solar plexus and then the heart center, the throat and the head and then the back. If one of those places, or if you attempt this on your own as you're doing the moving through the body the way we just did, and you find a place that feels really comfortable to you, then come back to that after you work through the body like we just did. Say, for me, it's my heart center and how I can feel my abdomen moving in and out. And then you can stay with that for a while. Try to find a place where the breathing feels really good to you, where you can focus on it without getting too distracted, without getting too sleepy, just to become aware of living in this body. If you find your mind wandering, which it will do, because that's what its nature is. Find that space in your body, that place, if you can, where you can really notice your breath, whether it's the tip of your nose, your abdomen, the movement of your rib cage, wherever it may be. You can always come back to that place to recenter yourself. And as we prepare to come back out of meditation, once again, bring to your mind feelings of goodwill, loving kindness for your family, yourself, your friends, for all those close and dear to you. May they be truly happy. May we learn how to create the causes for true happiness. May all beings be released from suffering. Okay, guys. How you all doing?
Good.
Doing very well.
Good, good.
I am a chest breather by nature. I and it's funny when I do meditation, I breathe through my stomach. That's where I concentrate most, and it's almost comfortable. Where I'm not normally comfortably breathing through my stomach. I do 800 crunches a day, and so I'm really tight in my abdomen area, and so breathing through there is really tough sometimes, unless I meditate. And when I do, it's such an amazing feeling to concentrate just on that area. Even when I'm breathing up, I still recognize it's coming through my abdomen. And yeah, it brings me to this place where I need to be, where it just gets me out of the tension.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Mike, because I never knew how much I wasn't. It's like breathing in my chest, like you're talking about. When I realized that I had lived my, first 30 years of my life that way, and I still do when I get stressed. I'm not paying attention. Uh, I'm not getting a real good oxygenating breath into my body when I'm constantly running around like that. And thanks for bringing that up. That was new to me when I learned about the belly breathing, you know, and it feels good, and it's also for me personally such a good way to stay connected to my breathing when I meditate, like you're talking about. So thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Bob, I have a question about
Sure.
the breathing. Breathing's kind I love to meditate, and breathing is always where I get tripped up. It's like, so some meditations say you don't want to be controlling your breath. And then like I'm like breathing in and out, like I feel like myself. But when I try to like let go of my breath, it doesn't feel comfortable in that process. And I'm like, am I doing this wrong? And then like the other meditation, I was breathing way too heavy. It felt like I was like working out almost. And I just have a question about
Like last week, you mean?
last week. Yeah, it was like, but I realized that I was doing, I, because we were doing like deep belly breathing, and like I was doing that for like a straight hour. And I felt my whole body shaking, like it wasn't like I had enough air oxygen, or like I had just done a workout. I guess my question is, is there a right way, like 3 seconds in, 4 seconds out, or is it really just like how you feel? Or that's where I get confused on the breathing aspect of it.
Great question. All I can really do is share my experience with you on that. Now, uh, for instance, now my wife is a certified yoga instructor, and there's all kinds of different breathing in yoga, and it's very not rigid, but I mean it's very laid out for you. I guess I can't really think of the right way to say it. Um, but some of those techniques and what they're designed to do are very helpful. But when we're talking about like what we just did, I have noticed that I can start off with really deep abdominal belly breathing, and it feels really good. It really makes me feel really comfortable, but not to the point where I'm falling asleep. But
Mm,
I don't try to control it. But what I'll notice is that, you know, 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes into it, it's changed. Your body knows what it needs, and that's why it said, start the meditation with a couple of really nice, long, deep in and out breaths, you
mm,
know, and then, as you start to go through the body, what felt really good 5 minutes ago might not feel so good now. And then you
mm,
just want to kind of find what kind of breathing feels good for you in the moment. Because I really think that any meditation is a good meditation because at least we're putting forth the effort.
mm,
But I think we also need to be able to be comfortable enough with what we're doing so that we can pay attention to it and
mm,
be mindful of it. And that's actually, you know, if you sit for a long period of time, like you're talking about an hour, and you don't just try to force the breath. Um, one teacher said, make friends with your breath. Become a friend to your breath. You know,
mm.
and you wouldn't just try to put a friend in a box and push him around. Right?
True.
So it knows what it needs. And our job is to try to pay attention. And that gets a little more difficult when the breath becomes more subtle, you know.
Mm,
Uh, but that's something that you can experiment with. And that's one of the
mm,
things that's so cool about this is that, you really can experiment with it. Something that, feels like you couldn't even pay attention to it if you were going to try to breathe very short, shallow breaths to start your meditation, might not feel good. But then, as you're sitting there into it for 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, your body might automatically just be doing that. And
yeah.
instead of you trying to force it. On the other hand, if you're having a hard time in the meditation and you're really um, becoming distracted, then that might be a good time to try to maybe start taking some long breaths again, just to kind of bring your awareness back to the breathing if you're having a hard time paying attention to the more subtle aspects of the breath.
Mm,
So really what it is for each and every person that does it, it's kind of an individual adventure,
okay.
and you get to experiment with that path on your own. The reason that the breath meditation is so good is, like I said in the beginning, all of us are breathing. We're all going to be breathing until the day that we die. It's something that's here, a companion for us for the rest of our lives. So it's always there for us, ready to go back to. Most of the time, it's like the rest of our lives. We're breathing on autopilot. We're driving. I mean, I drive to work every day. I know when to turn automatically. I'm not even paying attention. I mean,
Mm,
it's almost like the car's driving itself. It's not a real good way to go through living, you know.
yeah.
So that's really the
Thank you.
point of this. Sure, you're welcome. One other thing I wanted to let you all know about is, there's a thing called walking meditation as well. And I've been doing this for a long time, the sitting in meditation. But my life gets crazy at work, and I manage a shop. I'm running around all day. It's really easy for me to just not be there, just spinning out of control. And I have a standing desk, and I realized at some point that I could just put my hands up on this thing, stop, and take a couple of deep breaths, and I literally can feel the relaxation or the calm start to come to me just from taking a short little breather like that. And then I was listening to actually there's a Zen monk talked about breathing meditation. Now I've done this before, but most of the time you're supposed to be in a very small space or a garden, and you just walk a few paces forward very slowly with your hands like this, and then you turn, and then you walk back the other way, and then you're supposed to be paying attention to the movement of your feet as your heel comes up off the ground, and there's a whole thing to it. What this guy said, you don't have you can pay attention to your walking even if you're walking fast, and I'm not that got my attention because that's what I do, and it's just what he the whole point again is it's related to the breath. But as I'm walking, I can count, like you were talking about, Tom. I can count, you know, um, 4 or 5 steps for the in breath, 6 steps for the out breath, or whatever it was working for me. That's not so important. The important part is I'm actually paying attention to what I'm doing. That I'm actually noticing that I'm a living, breathing human being as I'm spinning around the shop. And that has really helped to bring my awareness, mindfulness into an area of my life where a lot of times I'm just like, I got too much going on, too many people want too many things and all that kind of thing. And it kind of brings me right back into the moment. And that I tell you that because it's a really practical, pragmatic uh, way to be or to practice the mindfulness. And that was really cool for me to hear because I thought I just had to be, in a tranquil little garden doing the walking meditation. And no, I can do it. I can do it at work, with 20 technicians around me and people with problems and all of that stuff. And I can pay attention. The monk said that you can count or you can think to yourself as you're breathing in and walking, I have arrived. I have arrived as I'm stepping, uh, and then or breathing in, and then I have arrived, and then on the out breath, I am home. I have arrived. I am home, which is cool too because I don't know, I'm there. It's not my home where I live, but I'm actually there quite a bit. So it's a centering kind of practice, and it's something that I can do whenever I remember that I want to do it. And that's helped me out quite a bit. It's been much more recently that I've been able to incorporate that into my life. Does anybody else have any more questions or comments?
Are you from this area?
Yeah, I'm in Arlington Heights.
Okay.
Are you?
Yes, Hoffman or Schaumburg actually.
Oh, okay.
Do you have classes? You said you just kind of teach this just on your own little thing. You talked about your wife is a yoga instructor. Tom and I have talked about yoga before. Tom's into yoga, and I'm thinking about looking into yoga. Um, any form of stress reliever is what I'm looking for.
Yoga is actually a form of meditation itself, you know.
Hmm.
And she hasn't been teaching it for. It's been a while, I think. It's been quite a while. But yeah, I went to a training, 10-day training in Pecatonica, Illinois, which I had never heard of it before. That's out west of Rockford, and that was a 10-day silent. It was only the most formal training in Buddhist meditation that I've had. Most of it has just been pretty much like having a friend that I see that I've seen doing it, and learning, and just trying and listening to. I mean, there's so much on the internet now. I know which tradition I like to, which monks I like to listen to, and that's what I do. I'll listen to talks like that on the way into work in the morning, and that helps me out quite a bit. But the uh, the Buddha said basically all I can do is point the way. You know, I don't know how much people know about that historical person, but there is no God in Buddhism. He's not never made himself out to be a god. Somebody asked him once, "Are you a man?" He said, "No." "Are you a god?" "No." He said, "What are you?" And he said, "I'm awake." And that's what the word literally means, Buddha, the one who's awake. I thought that was pretty cool. Spiritual awakening, and awakened being, seemed very appropriate for my life. And, as I was getting into the path that I'm still on, 30 years ago. So, but no, that was cool though. The 10-day thing. There's no talking. It's about 10 hours of meditation every day. And there was a kid there this was almost 10 years ago now, but he was 18. And I said to him, I'm like, I wanted to ask him before the period of silence started. I said, "Have you ever meditated before?" Because I had been doing it for a long time already at that point. And he's like, "Oh, yeah." I'm like, "Well, how long do you normally sit for?" He's like, "Oh, I can't sit for more than 10 minutes." And I'm like, "Oh, Jesus." you know, I'm like, well, I got to see if he's able to stick around. And if he's still here in 10 days, I got to ask him how it went. And he was. And I did ask him, and he did great. And so there was somebody that couldn't, sit quiet for more than 10 minutes, and not, you didn't get to talk to anybody. If you had a problem, you had some people that you could talk to if you needed to. But uh, just instruction and meditation and quiet, and about 10 hours of that every day. And it started early in the morning, which is fine for me. I'm a 4 o'clock in the morning person myself. So, uh, but I thought that was so cool. He wanted it to work, and it did. So some people bailed on it, but it was
Yeah,
pretty
that's
cool.
cool. I don't want to leave meditation. I want to stay in meditation. That's the problem. It's such a serene place. I don't want to leave. So I have a sands of time timer, so I can't hear it buzz when it's done. I just try to come out of it when I can, and I've been lost for hours before. I mean, just sat there, and I have silhouettes of lights dancing in my head, and it's just a beautiful place. And I come back, and then I don't even realized I was breathing. I was like, wow, was I breathing? I don't know, but apparently I was because I'm still coherent.
Right, right.
So yeah, it's such a cool place. And the more I learn meditation, the more interested I am at different types of meditation. So this was this you talked about uh, the teaching of the elders.
Yeah,
Now, is
yeah.
there a different style? Was that part of the class that you took? Was it more Indian form of meditation, or?
Well, that particular tradition, yeah. But so, I mean, without trying to get really too deep into this,
Mhm.
because it's not that relevant, for the meditation aspect of it. But there's two main branches in Buddhism. There's the original, or not original. I shouldn't say original, but the Indian Buddhism, which Buddha was an Indian. He was from India. He's not a little fat champ. He was not a fat Chinese guy. Um, and then there's two main branches. One's called Hinayana, and that's with the Theravada Buddhism, which is what we were just kind of talking about. And then there's Mahayana Buddhism, which is Tibetan Buddhism, Zen Buddhism, and, you know, some other schools of Buddhism. And I mean, it's just as fractured as any other religion. You know, I mean, just think of how many different kind of Christian churches there are. You know, but one thing they all have in common are some things we really don't have time and probably not appropriate to get into. Uh, is there's a thing called Four Noble Truths, uh, which is just real quick. There is suffering in life. If you're born as a human being in a human body, there's going to be some suffering. And the second noble truth is that a lot of times we bring it on ourselves. And the third noble truth is that there's a possibility for the end of suffering. And the fourth noble truth in Buddhism is that there is a way, the path to the end of suffering is called the Noble Eightfold Path. So all of them, all of the true Buddhist traditions share that, and like for us, it's pretty insignificant. You know. The more important thing is living our lives. You know. And I've drifted off like that before in that meditation. I try not to do that so much anymore. Um, but I really want to just be patient. And when I would start, that would start happening to me, I'd be there almost, you know. So maybe that's not exactly what you've been experiencing, but yeah, it's when I started being able to try to bring attention to different parts of my body, pulling the breath in, and uh, it just kept me engaged with the meditation. And then learning how to do it at work, that was a big deal for me because I get so distracted. I don't, you know, a lot of times I just am not the person I want to be at work because I'm not paying attention to what I'm saying to other people or what's going on in my head.
Right. I talk about practicing these principles in most of my affairs, right? So that's what I
Yeah.
do. So, Bob, I appreciate your knowledge. Appreciate your time, and thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Well, unless anybody has anything else, I think we'll wrap it up. Again, thank you guys for being here. It was a great opportunity for me to share, and it makes me feel good. And thanks again to Judy and Cindy. And hope to see you guys again soon sometime.
Perfect. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you. See you, brother. Marky Mark.
Th-
Have a good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, everyone.
Michael,
Bye.
thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Mark.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Guys, stay safe.
You too.
Stay
Thanks.
safe, everyone. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.